I'm Claudia St. I'm the president of Affinity HR Group. So we are an HR consulting firm that has been a partner of NPTA's for about 5 years. And what we do for NPTAs, we offer headhunting and recruiting services. So we are a full service recruiter in the industry. We also do handbooks and audits and compliance and organizational development and sort of all sorts of good kind of HRE kind of things for NPTA. So we love this space, and we've really enjoyed the clients that we've worked with to date.
In what ways has the outside sales landscape changed or shifted from pre-pandemic to now?
So I think there was a trend that was going on in outside sales long before the pandemic. There was a move toward changing the typical outside sales role because the customer was changing, the purchaser was changing, technology was changing. So what we saw was a typical outside role that was really built on relationship, meeting, greeting, connecting, understanding, and really sort of evolving from an interpersonal relationship. That has largely shifted because, and this was happening before the pandemic, but the use of technology, the inability to actually sit down and meet with one another, and also the shifting purchaser. So as we were changing purchasers, as purchasers were becoming more likely to be millennial, to be able to be self-serving in their own purchasing of other things in their workplace, other things in their environment, there has been this evolution toward what I would describe as omni-channel selling. So you have your sales rep, but then you also have your self-serve and your ability to source and evaluate the product from your own desktop. And then on that, you add this COVID, which really disrupted everything. There are a lot of transitions going on right now to moving some of the work off of outside sales and into inside sales and account management, because a lot of the ongoing relationship building can be done not through an outside sales avenue, but through an inside sales avenue. So that's really a very significant shift. And we see survey after survey. Forrester Research Group did a survey that basically said purchasers these days, business to business purchasers, want to have some autonomy in how they make decisions, in how they place orders, in how they manage their orders. And that really is not normally in the scope of what an outside sales rep looks like.
And my next question for you is, how will these changes positively impact outside sales, and will there be any challenges that need to be navigated?
I mean, I think the positive is that you are expanding the opportunity to outside sales for a population of folks that may not necessarily have chosen that path, because typical outside sales, that typical like hunter, that's a very aggressive, very competitive, very high sense of urgency type person, very extroverted. A lot of folks don't feel that way, but this creates the opportunity for more, instead of cold calling, warm calling. So I think it creates an avenue also for a younger sales rep, where you don't have to have all of those relationships. You just need to have knowledge of the product. So I think it makes that change. I think the biggest challenge is that this is going to be a change for outside sales reps who may not be equipped or open to that change. I know a lot of road warriors cannot wait to get back on the road with their product. And the bottom line is that may not be the most effective cost of way of doing that sale. And your purchaser may not want that. They may not want you coming into their office as much as maybe pre-pandemic. So I think I don't want to say that there are winners and losers, but I think there is a massive shift that is going to go on with outside sales. It happened before. A lot of the technology that we've had in place has been very disruptive. I mean, there are major industries that are no longer viable now because of technology and because of the disruptive nature of how we do business to business. But this evolving sales role you're going to have a lot of folks who will not be happy because they were successful financially, emotionally, personally successful with how they did business in the past. And that's just not necessarily how it's going to be done in the future.
What are the implications from an HR standpoint? So as we transition out of the pandemic and back into a pattern of normalcy, normal business operations, what is that going to look like?
I think one of the biggest changes that we're going to see is a continued hybrid workplace. So we all like when COVID hit, it was like, okay, break, right? So we all left. We all went where we had to go, back home, shut our doors. Bringing people back is a lot harder. And because some people are scared, some people are more productive at home, some people can't wait to get back in the office. Some people have COVID vaccine hesitancy. Some people have childcare. Like that's right now. But going forward, a lot of businesses are saying, do we need all this real estate? We're part of our teams very productive, not manufacturing, perhaps not the distribution centers, but our account services, our accounting, our HR, our call centers, whatever. They can do a lot of what they were doing at home. So when we look at I guess it was a Forrester survey on that as well, which was on the role of the hybrid workplace. What we found is that no, that wasn't Forrester. Who was it? McKinsey did this study, and it just came out a couple of weeks ago. That 60% of businesses are going to be hybrid going forward, and 10% are going to be 100% virtual. That's 70% of the workforce. From before pandemic, there was 10% that had some form of hybrid. Now there's going to be 70%. And if that's not you, that could be your customer. So how do you access them? That is the biggest change going forward, we think, for post-pandemic, this move to hybrid. And that's changing cities, right? People are moving out to smaller cities, rural areas. That changes how we get technology. As long as there's high-speed internet, folks are able to do it, and they're doing it. 70%. That's massive. That is a massive shift from pre-pandemic, which was just a little more than a year ago, was 10%. So, and what we're finding is that employees want this. There was another study that came out from Payday that what they found was that most employees were willing to take up to a 20% pay cut in order to work remotely. And 34% of employees want to stay out altogether. So we're not only seeing that customers are going to be changing this, employees are going to be changing this, and employees want this. And either partly hybrid, so whether that's a hub and spoke campus kind of model where you come in a couple days a week, or maybe you have folks that are in all the time and folks that are out all the time. So that is a huge evolving and changing landscape that we are definitely going to be dealing with for the next couple of years to come, at least, before we get like a normal going forward.
What are the top 3 trends that you expect for the next 18 months in the workplace? I know you were talking about hybrid a little bit, but if there's anything else you want to add as far as trends go.
Yeah, so I think the top 3 trends are going to be a continued work toward hybrid. I think it's going to continue to be challenging bringing folks back into the office, much harder than it was letting them out. So that's going to continue to percolate for businesses, I think, for the next 6 months or so. A couple of other big workforce trends that I think folks haven't really spent enough time thinking about is that this was a tight labor market before the pandemic. And while we did reach unemployment rates of about 14, 15, 16% at the height of it, those are not your people. Those are not the people that you want to hire. The people that you want to hire still have jobs and have probably been given some incentives to stay in those jobs. It is a tighter labor market than it has ever been before. So finding talent is going to be wicked hard. And because we were virtual, they can now look for talent, not just within 100 miles of their, of their corporate headquarters, but on the other side of the country, perhaps in another country altogether. So that means that finding talent is going to be hard, but you can be creative because it can be virtual. But that means everybody can find your own talent. everybody can find your employees. And so you really need to focus on employee engagement and keeping your good talent with you. And the second labor trend that we were expecting going into this, but it's definitely turning into a perfect storm, is compensation. Compensation has been stagnant for years. And now, because of COVID, because of this competitiveness and this tight labor market, people are having to pay more for talent coming into the workplace. And so that creates, in order to be competitive externally, you have to pay more to get talent. But then that creates an internal inequity if you're bringing people in at higher levels and not adjusting their salary. And then you've got these unemployment or workers minimum wage creeping up, not only perhaps federally, but definitely at the state level. Pay is going to be a topic, and keeping good talent, that hybrid workforce, and the pressure on pay, those three things are going to make creating a stable workforce, bringing in good talent, a real challenge for business owners in the next 12 to 18 months.